Hi guys, so today we are going to continue our overview and kind of roundup of all the new spring drugstore releases that have come out. If you missed my first video, I will link it down below, but the plan is to kind of go brand by brand, talk about what's been released, and then kind of go through the things that I have tried from these brands and give you my reviews on those products. As you will see as we go through here, the drugstore has been crazy with launches, so obviously I have not had the ability or the time to test everything, but I will say I have been testing these products for probably the last 3 to 4 months, depending on when I picked them up, and I feel like I've formed really solid opinions on everything we're going to talk about here today. Today's video is going to focus on 2 brands, Milani and Flower Beauty. We're going to go through everything that they have launched and then go through the products I have personally tried. This is going to be a series that probably takes up the bulk of this month, I would guess, because we still have 21 more brands to review. 21. So my plan is to put these videos out as quickly as humanly possible because I not only want to share this content with you guys, but I also want to continue my declutter series and a couple of other things I've got kind of going behind the scenes here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. Up first, let's talk about Milani. Now I always get excited to see what Milani puts out because I think that they're a brand that puts out really high quality products and is really a little bit cutting edge for the drugstore. So I'm always super interested to watch what they are putting out into the marketplace, and I don't feel like they disappointed this spring in the least. Up first, let's talk about the 2 primers that they released. These are 2 that I actually wasn't interested in picking up. The first is an Instant Touch Blur Stick. This retails for $12. This is one of those Milk Makeup knockoff kind of blur sticks that we've been seeing every brand put out. I've never really gotten into them. I tried the Milk Makeup one, didn't really love it, and so haven't really been interested in trying any of the dupe type products that have come out. And then they also released a Prime Protect SPF 30 face primer that retailed for $13. I know a lot of people like that kind of SPF moisturizer combo or maybe even SPF primer combo. For me personally, I would rather have those products be separate, and I would rather put on my SPF as a separate step because I feel like I have a little bit more customization based on what foundation I'm putting on for the day or based on how my skin is looking. Wasn't interested in that guy. So they kind of did an interesting take on loose powders, and they released 2 translucent ones. One's for light to medium and one's from medium to deep, which I loved seeing. These are kind of a talc silica mica blend. So I was kind of tempted to pick up the translucent one, but to be honest, I feel like I've got a lot of loose powders going and some that I really like that I want to work my way through. So I thought if I'm going to pick up another loose powder, let's pick up one that's maybe a little different from what I currently have. The translucent banana powder didn't interest me. I'm too fair to use those banana powders that just looks like I've put streaks of yellow underneath my eyes or on my face. But I did pick up the 4th shade, which is Radiant. The Radiant version is a talc mica nylon 12 silica blend, and then there's a few other ingredients trickled down throughout. It is a really nicely finely milled powder. You don't have any chunky mica pieces in there, so the radiance it gives you looks very pearlescent, very natural, and it's definitely not like putting a highlighter on your face. I like to use powders like this as kind of a last step finishing powder. This is a product I would reach for instead of an Hourglass Mineral Veil powder or some other glowy powder in my collection. I like to set my makeup with something else, finish all of my bronzer, highlighter, blush, and then after that's done, buff on a more radiant, slightly glowy powder to kind of give myself a lit from within glow and kind of cause all of those powder products to melt together on my skin. I just actually saw a YouTuber who I follow called Puffins Wife actually go into a great deal of, I actually saw a YouTuber I really enjoy, Puffins Wife, do a whole video on this buffing technique with glowy powders. I will link that down below if you want a really clear explanation of why you do it, how it works, and powders that work well with this technique. When she launched that video, if you could have seen me in my kitchen, I was going, yes, I use that. Ooh, that's a cool one. I will admit that this buffing technique is not something that I do every single day, but when I want my skin to be extra flawless, when I want my makeup to really be locked and loaded and really make it through a 14, 16-hour workday, then this is something that I will reach for. All that to say, I think this is a really lovely glowy powder. Oftentimes when you get those glowy powders, they have lots of chunky glitter particles in them, and I just don't feel like this one does, so I have thoroughly enjoyed this one. The other thing that I really like about this is it's got really nice upgraded packaging, so it's got a sifter, but it's got that kind of twist top to it so that you can close it up and travel with it, so I really appreciate that kind of extra attention to detail. Oftentimes drugstores will put a sifter in, but that's about it. So it just ends up going everywhere. And so I really appreciate the fact that this is a very non-messy loose powder. Milani also released 10 shades of a pressed powder. This is their Conceal and Perfect Shine Proof powder. It retailed for $11. I think it seemed to have a pretty good shade range as far as powders go. I have not tried this one because anything that says shine proof to me just means mattifying. And to be honest, that matte life is not really something that I'm going for. I'm going for either a very natural skin-like or I'm looking for a very radiant skin finish. So that's my preference. So when I see those products that say shine proof or mattifying, I'm always like, maybe not for me. So I did skip over that one. Also released Conceal and Perfect correcting kits and then Conceal and Perfect all-in-one concealer kits. And this is actually probably one of the last products that I picked up because I kind of hemmed and hawed on this because I wasn't really sure that these were colors that were going to work well for me or if it was a format that I was really going to enjoy. And I have to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised. So I steered away from the color correcting kit. I just don't color correct with greens and yellows and oranges all that much, and I wasn't sure that the undertones on those would work well for me anyway. But I did pick up the Fair to Light concealer kit, and I have to be honest, I'm really enjoying it. So the product is creamy without being too creamy. So it's creamy enough that it goes underneath your eyes and isn't drying, but it's not so creamy that it's going to be crease central or that you couldn't use them on your face and have it just dissolve everywhere. So this consistency of this concealer actually means that I can use this both under my eyes and on my face, which is not something I can say of many potted concealers. I find that most of them I can use either on my face or under my eyes, but not in between. And this one does both. I also think that this peach corrector shade in here is actually a really good corrector shade for someone fair like me. So I will put this kind of to cancel out some blue. And then I will typically use this top shade here underneath my eyes. And then this is actually a really good skin match for me. So this one works to conceal around my nose or any blemishes that I've got on my face. The only shade that I haven't really used is this bottom one. But once again, 3 out of 4 shades working incredibly well for me. Yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised by this. I picked it up and I put it in my cart and I was like, ooh, you probably aren't gonna like this, but let's give it a whirl anyway. And I'm really glad I did. So next up, 2 eyeshadow palettes, which everyone and their mother on YouTube has been going gaga over. I have tested them. I get the hype. So they released a Bold Obsessions palette, which is a mix of shimmers and mattes. And then they also released Most Love Mattes, which is a really lovely collection of warm, cool tone, and neutral matte shades from light to dark. I really love both of these collections. I did want to call out something that I think you may have heard a few other people reference if you've been watching reviews for these palettes, but quite a few of these warm shades are replicated in a palette that they launched of all shimmer shades last fall. So these aren't necessarily all new shades for Milani. They're certainly high quality shades. Hopefully you guys have seen here from the swatches that the colors are really beautiful and pigmented. I think they're all easy to work with. They last well on the eyes. I have no issues with these lasting for 10 hours without fading when I use them over an eye primer. But I did just want to call out, I actually ended up decluttering a palette that I got last fall because I realized that there were duplicate shades inside of this. These do retail for $20 on the Milani website, but I have seen these in all of my Walmarts lately, and they have made a permanent space for them in the collection, and you can get them for $14.99 there. So save your $5, find them at a local Walmart. As far as Most Love Mattes, I love this. I love the fact that I can do very warm looks, I can do plummy looks, and then I've got a great range of neutrals. The mattes are pigmented yet buildable and are easy to blend, super easy to work with, last a long time, don't muddy together on my eyes. The packaging of this is just stunning. I love the fact that it comes with a giant mirror. It feels very sturdy. I mean, it isn't magnetized, it has a clip, but like I have no worries about this getting banged up or broken in a bag. I've always felt that Milani has the best eyeshadows at the drugstore, and so I was thrilled to see them put out some larger palettes that in my opinion give my high-end palettes a run for their money. Milani has also launched a slew of highlighters. They launched their Stellar Lights highlighting palettes. These retail for $13. There's 2 different shades. To be honest, I didn't pick up either one of these because I looked at the palette and I thought there was at least 2 shades in each palette that I wouldn't wear. So to me, that's just not worth me even trying or picking them up. I also felt like I was seeing some glitter particles in there, and I don't know if that's true or not, but as I was just looking at them at the store, I was like, no, I don't think these are going to be for me. They also released 4 what they're calling Hypnotic Lights powder highlighters. These retail for $13. This is a silly thing, but I think the imprinting, kind of that jagged triangle shape, is just really stunning for the surface of these powders. I did pick up 2 shades. I picked up Luminous Lights, which is the pinkier toned one, and I also picked up Luster Lights, which is more of a peachy gold highlight. These are definitely some of those color shifting highlighters that you may or may not love. Luminous Lights, which has a sort of pinky peach undertone to it, I definitely can wear this one, and I thought it was actually really pretty. It gave me kind of that pink shift highlighter without being super extreme. So I feel like if you've wanted to kind of try out some colored highlighters but have been scared that it's going to look really strange on your cheeks, I think Hypnotic Lights might actually be a really fun one if you're a similar shade to me. One that I think will work better if you're a little deeper skin toned is Luster Lights. It is a beautiful peach color. I can wear this, but it has a very strong orangey gold undertone, which doesn't look the best on my fair cool tone leaning skin. So this is one I'm probably going to rehome to a friend who has a deeper skin tone to see if she enjoys this. The texture of these highlighters is lovely. There's no glitter particles in them. They're very smooth on the cheek. I don't find that they emphasize texture. Temptalia also gave these all very good reviews. I will link her reviews down below as well if you would like more detailed swatches and just another person's point of view on them. She actually did review all 4 of them as well. If you're interested in a slightly funky colored highlighter, I think there might be something here for you because I think they're more on the subtle end of funky highlighter. So I definitely have enjoyed using especially Luminous Light. All right, so now let's move into lip products. They have released a line called Keep It Full Nourishing Lip Plumper. They released 9 different shades. Some were shimmer, some were cream. I tried one of them because I was kind of curious if I would like the formula or how extreme of a plumping gloss it would be. So I tried the shade Almost Natural. I will say it's a lot lighter in person than it appears to be in the pictures on the website. So it's a very light, milky gloss in my opinion. So it's definitely one that I have to put over something. I can't just wear it on its own. It kind of wipes out the color on my lips. It has a light sort of coconut scent, and it has a slight sort of, I don't know, like maybe buxom lip gloss kind of tingle. It's very mild, nothing extreme. I don't feel like a lot of people are going to find the plumping effect of this to be offensive from a stinging sensation. I definitely think it's one of those ones that the plumping is more of an illusion. It's more of the gloss factor and then a little bit of tingle than anything really extreme. But I did enjoy this. I may actually pick up a shade that I would use more than something this light and milky, but I definitely wouldn't steer you away from these because I think they're a really nice gloss that isn't too sticky. I should mention that. Although this has some thickness to it, it's not sticky at all. It has a nice slip to it. So if you hate sticky glosses, this is one you may actually enjoy. Next up is probably my favorite release from them, and they released 12 shades of an Amore Shine liquid lip color. So they've done their Amore Shine lip gloss, they've done Amore Shine matte liquid lipsticks and metallic liquid lipsticks, and now they're doing what is essentially a lip lacquer. And to be honest, I'm not usually a huge lip lacquer girl. I tend to find that they're very sticky, very gloopy on the lips. They're pigmented, but they slide around. I don't know. I've just not been a lip lacquer lover. This formula is lovely. Like, this formula could teach some high-end brands how to make a lip lacquer that a lot of people would like. So they're super pigmented. There's no getting around this, but it has kind of a medium thickness, not super thick, not super gel-like, somewhere right in the middle, but there's no stickiness at all. It just glides on your lips, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's sliding around. Like, I feel like once it's on my lips, it's kind of there. Now, I will admit I've not tried some of these deeper reds and berries and things like that, but to be honest, they were smart and released mostly neutral. So I also feel like the range is kind of designed to fit this formula. I tried the shades 10 Enchanting and 11 Charming. This is a formula I might consider picking up a few more in because I really do like this as a one and done product. To put it on my lips, it gives me that glossy, juicy lip look, but with all the pigmentation that I would ever want from a lipstick. So I love these. I would highly recommend them. The last products that Milani released are actually those sort of duochrome, glittery lip topper lip glosses that I feel like every single brand has gone stampeding to, both drugstore and high-end. So there's an Ulta exclusive here. The Hypnotic Lights Holographic Lip Topper retails for $11. They have 6 different shades in this. I have looked at these at Ulta. I think they look really pretty, but I feel I have reached my max saturation points on how many lip toppers I actually need. So I stood at this display in my local Ulta when they finally got them in, and I was like, for $11, like, I'm not even sure I care anymore. There's just been too many of these out on the market, and we'll definitely get to some of the other ones that I've tried, but I wasn't like stampeding to go get these. The Stellar Lights Holographic Lip Gloss retails for $9. These are in theory going to be in all the other retailers. I did not see these at my local Ulta. This is a lip gloss, so my gut tells me that these are going to be a thinner formula and more sheared out. I haven't actually been able to see these in person. I haven't seen them in any of my local stores. I was mildly interested in the Luminous Peach shade because I thought a really pretty peachy gloss might be something really fun for spring. So that might be something that I pick up in the future, but I just, once again, haven't seen it at my local store. So that wraps us up for all of the Milani products. Next, we're going to turn our sights to Flower Beauty. Okay, now let's talk Flower Beauty because I am really excited by what has come out from Flower Beauty this year. They launched for the first time in Ulta Beauty, and there's a ton of products that are now exclusive to Ulta. So they released 2 setting sprays. One was the Seal the Deal Hydrating Setting Spray, and the other was the Seal the Deal Long Lasting Setting Spray. These retail for $12.99. The packaging is beautiful. This isn't necessarily a setting spray that I feel like is massively extending the life of my makeup, nor is it making me super dewy. So I feel like it's one of those really good ones where I just want to set down a little bit of powder and kind of meld everything together on my skin. I do like this. The mister on here, I'm hoping you can see this. It is the finest mist you have ever felt in your life. In fact, I might even argue it is a hair too fine. Like, I feel like I put it on my face and I barely feel it. But in a world of drugstore setting sprays that spit and glurb at you every time you use them, I was super impressed with the mister on here, and I have really enjoyed this. I will say this is pretty heavily fragranced, so if I were you and I was in the store, I would honestly pop this puppy open, give it a sniff, and see if it appeals to you. It has kind of a, I would say, botanical, slightly floral scent to it. I personally like it, but if you are anti-fragrance in your setting sprays and or don't like the scent of this, it's obviously going to be a deal breaker for you. I personally have really enjoyed this one. 3 primers. They are a pore minimizing primer, an illuminating primer, and a hydrating primer. These all retail for $12.99 each. So I picked up the illuminating primer, and I'm actually really glad I did because there have been a lot of illuminating primers that have launched. We talked about 2 from Loreal in my last video, and now you've got another one from Flower where there's more illuminating primers where this came from in future videos. All that to say, there is something kind of unique and different about this one. So the texture of this is incredibly lightweight and it is incredibly moisturizing. So it kind of feels like a lightweight gel moisturizer. It's kind of like if the Becca Backlight Priming Filter and the Smashbox Primerizer, that serum primer, had a baby, it would be this. Like, that's just kind of the texture that comes into my mind with this. So this is just one of those ones when my skin is looking a little dull or it's looking dry, I feel like this is incredibly refreshing, and yet at the same time, it's not oily or greasy. So I know a lot of people with oily skin have had a lot of success with the primerizer from Smashbox, even though that is a hydrating serum primer. I kind of feel like a lot of people with oily skin might actually have success with this illuminating primer because it sinks into the skin and it doesn't leave my skin feeling oily or greasy or even as like cream based as a lot of the other illuminating primers that I've talked about. But at the same time, it gives like just a hint of hydration to the skin. So I don't know, I really have enjoyed this one. A launch that I know a lot of people were really excited for, myself included, was their Light Illusion face products. So they released a Light Illusion full coverage concealer for $9.99, and then they also released the Light Illusion liquid foundation in 12 different shades. I have tried both the concealer in Fair and the lightest shade L1 Porcelain in this foundation. I think the foundation goes on very smoothly. It's very easy to blend into the skin. It definitely doesn't tug or cling to any dry patches. It gives a nice satin finish. I don't think it's overly illuminating or glowy, but is definitely not matte either. So I did definitely appreciate that. I think it wore well on my skin as well. The biggest challenge I have with this is the color. The lightest shade is actually very yellow toned. And so I kind of feel like I have to mix it with something else to pull down that yellowness, or I really have to blend it down my neck because it's pretty apparent that this is very yellow on me. I would also say it's probably about a shade too dark. I can definitely make this work, and I have made it work blended with some other foundations to once again kind of neutralize it a little bit. So if you can find a shade in this and that sounds like a formula that appeals to you, I don't think you'll be disappointed with this. I love the packaging. It pops off. It's got a great pump. It's glass bottle. I mean, it feels like a very high-end foundation, so no complaints about the foundation other than I really wish they had a shade range for me. I'm hoping maybe with the success of this foundation and then also the concealer that they expand the shade range a little bit, because I also feel like although there is like 1 or 2 deeper shades, they really need to blow out that darker, deeper, richer shades as well. The concealer is also a shade too dark for me. Now this is definitely more neutral / pinky leaning, so this is a better color match for me from an undertone perspective, but it's just too dark of a product for me to use underneath my eyes by itself. I definitely have to mix this with a concealer that is significantly lighter to get it to work. So from that perspective, I have a hard time truly evaluating this one because I can't use it on its own. The other caveat I would mention on both of these is I kind of feel like these both dry down maybe a hair darker. So I would say this darkens maybe a half shade. This one I kind of feel like darkened about a full shade on me. Now, I will admit I'm really disappointed about that because I feel like this formula looked really nice when I used it on its own. I just felt like I was really looking dark underneath those eyes. So I hope this is when they expand the shade range on. There is only 6 of these right now, so there's definitely room for them to double the amount of concealers, and I really think people would go nuts for them. At least a second foundation line, which was interesting to me. This is their Pore Perfect Instant Blur Stick and Multitasking Foundations. This isn't one that I was like stampeding to go out and get. I do have quite a few stick foundations I like, but this was lower on my list of things to test. To go along with their foundation launch, they released 8 different shades of the Light Illusion powder. This retails for $13.99. I tried the shade L1 Porcelain, no shock there, the lightest shade. Here's what I would say. This is a powder that's definitely going to add some coverage and is going to be mattifying. Talc is the #1 ingredient, so I definitely find that this is a little bit more drying and a little bit more cakey looking on my skin. It's not the type of powder I prefer. Now, I think if you are a little bit more oily, this might be actually the perfect powder to pair with what is technically more of a satin finish foundation. So I really look for powders that are going to set my makeup and almost look like I haven't added any powder to that. This one is definitely adding that coverage. So it really comes down to a preference on whether or not this is something that is going to work well for your skin and is it a style of powder that appeals to you. They also released a loose powder called the Miracle Glow Satin Finishing Powder. This retails for $13.99. It comes in this super chunky container and it has a giant puff at the top. Let's see if I can pull this off. So it comes with a giant puff at the top and a sifter. There is nothing to keep the sifter closed, and I will admit this packaging is a little bulky. I definitely prefer the packaging on the Milani one to this one. However, I do think the powder itself is actually really lovely. It is a mica silica blend, so there's no talc in this one either. The mica is really finely milled, so I'm not seeing any really intense shimmer particles coming out of this. And then with the addition of the silica, you're definitely getting that blurring effect. So I would agree with their claim about this being a satin powder versus an illuminating powder like the Milani one. It's not adding as much glow to my skin and it's giving more of a blurring effect. So I kind of feel like there's a place and a time for both of these. I feel like I could set my face with this one in a way that I wouldn't set my face with the Milani one. So I definitely feel like if you want to glow from the heavens, you could use this kind of powder to set because it's going to give you a real subtle satin finish to your skin. And then you could come back with the Milani one and buff over the top and add a huge level of glow and your skin would just be flawless and glowing. I am really pleased with how this powder worked on my skin. And like every other brand this spring, they released a liquid illuminizer. It's called their Glow Getter Liquid Illuminizer. They released 2 shades, Pearlescence and Champagne Shimmer. I have not tried any of these. I felt like I was trying so many liquid illuminators this spring that I kind of reached a saturation point, so I didn't choose to pick those 2 up. I also went a little crazy with palette launches this year, which I was really excited to see. They did a Beauty Flash full face palette. This retailed for $16.99. It came with 3 eyeshadows, 2 blushes, a bronzer, and a highlight. I did watch a review from Emily Noel talking about this palette. I will link that down below. She absolutely loved it. She thought it was really high quality, easy to work with. So this is one I might consider picking up. I've been kind of waiting for Ulta to do some sort of either points deal or some sort of like buy one get one half off deal on Flower Beauty, and they have yet to do it. If they do a sale like that, this is something that's definitely on my radar to try. They also released a Galactic Glow holographic palette, and this is one that I had kind of put to the side because I didn't think it was something that I would really enjoy. I have, however, seen a few reviews since then that lead me to believe I could probably wear 3 out of 4 of those shades. So this isn't one that I was like chomping at the bit to go try. It has definitely piqued my interest more in the last couple of weeks. They also released 3 sort of mini eyeshadow palettes. These are called their Wanderlust eyeshadow palettes. These retail for $10.99. They come with 6 shades each, and they're based on cities that Drew has visited and loves. So you have New York, Austin, and LA. Austin, I just thought was one of the more interesting color combinations I had ever seen, drugstore or high-end, and so that was the first one that I snagged just because I thought it was so incredibly unique. The packaging is maybe a little cheapy, so it is cardboard, which I don't mind. It does have a nice magnetic closure. The thing that I'm kind of like meh about is that it's kind of got a thin, flexible acrylic top here. Kind of wish they had done something that maybe wasn't quite so flimsy here in the middle. It kind of feels like the top of a Z palette, so if you've ever owned a Z palette, that clear piece that goes over the top, it's kind of like that. But the product inside is absolutely stunning. I was shocked at how well these swatched. I was shocked at how well these went on my eye. I did a look where I actually used every single one of these shades, and I absolutely love how it turned out. I just thought it was so fun and something that really pushed me outside my comfort zone. I really love that chartreuse lime green. I don't feel like I have anything else like it in my collection, so kudos to her for launching a palette that really kind of is a unique spin on a color combo that we've never seen before. Based on how much I have enjoyed this Austin palette, I definitely have my eyes on New York and LA. Like I said, I'm kind of hoping Ulta does one of those buy one get one half off kind of sales, because those two would be high on my list of ones to try. Now let's talk about a whole bunch of pencil products that they've launched and a mascara. Mascara first. This is the Lash Warrior mascara. I absolutely love the packaging on this. I think it's so cool. It has a silicone wand at the top that I think if I had just one complaint, I wish that the brush itself was just a little bit smaller, because the formula and kind of how it applies to my eyes and what it does for my lashes really reminds me of the Benefit Roller Lash. I think it really does help the curl last in my lashes. I think it gives nice lengthening and separating effect, and if I do 2 to 3 coats of this, I actually get decent volume as well. I tend to find when these silicone wands get really big, for some reason I just end up messing up my mascara more. So I have been able to get this to work. I've just had to be a little bit more careful, and I've definitely had more instances where I've had to kind of like wipe some of the mascara off my eyeshadow look or in my eye, which, listen, that happens to me on the regular all the time. This mascara is not the only one that does this to me, but I did want to call that out because it is something I definitely noticed given the size of this wand. All that to say, I did really like this. It didn't flake or smudge on me, which is also a really big deal. I feel like a lot of mascaras do that to me, so yeah, I enjoyed this one. Next up, let's talk about the Vinyl Eyes Glossy Gel Eyeliner. I tried one shade, that is the shade Starry Night. It's kind of a gray navy with a little bit of a silver shimmer running through it. I like shades like this. I don't find that my eyeliner has to be matte. Sometimes I just want to smudge something along my lash line or have something with a little bit of sparkle underneath my eyes, because I also feel like that little bit of sparkle can sometimes open up your eyes and make them a little brighter and more awake. So I don't mind something that's not super matte. I also don't mind something that has a little bit of glitter in it. That's my personal preference. I know a lot of people really dislike both of those things. I don't think this is a pencil that is going to last long on your waterline. I have not had good success with it there, but I did really enjoy this shade blended out underneath my lash line and also above into kind of smoke out eye look. So I have definitely enjoyed this. They also released Petal Pout lip liners to go with their Petal Pout lipsticks, which we'll talk about here in a minute. These retail for $7.99 and they came out with 8 different shades. I picked up the shade beige because I thought it was a nice nude color. The challenge I have with this is that the color of the pencil inside is nowhere near the color of the outside of this. So I don't know if maybe I got the shade Nude shoved into a beige container because this shade is incredibly light. I can't imagine a lip liner lighter than this. So part of me thinks I may have gotten a dud, and it may actually be the light shade Nude that you see there inside of a beige pencil. But regardless, this is not a shade that I would ever use because it is lighter than my lips and it would just look absolutely strange as all get out all over my lips or used as a liner. The formula feels nice and smooth and creamy. It feels like a liner that I would like. I like that it's easy and retractable, but I also feel like we've had a rash of really good drugstore liners, some from L'Oreal. The Wet n Wild ones, which are even more affordable, have come out with a new expanded shade range. So there's nothing that's making me clamor to go pick up a different one of these, especially because I'm nervous that the color inside may or may not be this outside pencil. They released 5 shades of their Brow Vixen Tattoo Effect Stain. This appears to be one of those little marker pens that you use to do your brows. Not my cup of tea, so wasn't interested in testing that. And now we get into the plethora of lip products that have been released. So they released their Mix and Matte Lip Duos, and the first thing I thought of when I saw these was my Tarte Lip Sculptors that I absolutely love. Has a gloss on one end and a lipstick on the other. I tried one shade of this. I got the shade Honey Nude. I will say I absolutely love the lipstick down here. I think it's a wonderful formula. In fact, it reminds me of the Petal Pout lipsticks we're going to talk about here in a minute. What's interesting to me is that the corresponding side is less of a gloss and more of a liquefied lipstick. So the formula is a lot thicker, and to be honest, I could wear this on its own. It's a super similar shade to the lipstick itself, so it works well as a little bit of a lip topper, but it's not as high shine as I was kind of thinking it was going to be. Like I said, it almost feels more like a liquefied metallic lipstick. So I do like the combination this gives, but if I'm being totally honest, I kind of wish this end down here was more of just a traditional gloss versus this metallized liquefied lipstick. So similar to every other drugstore brand out there, they've also released a holographic liquid lip color. This is their Galaxy Gaze holographic lip color. These retail for $9.99. They came out with 6 different shades. So from what I can see from pictures, because I've not seen these in person, it doesn't even appear to be a duochrome gloss. It just appears to be a gloss with a little bit of shimmer running throughout it. So definitely not holographic and probably not even as duochromy as many of the glosses that have been released from other brands. So this is one that I was kind of not super interested in picking up. One product I was super interested in is their Miracle Matte Liquid Lip Color. These retail for $9.99. It comes in 12 different shades from light to dark. I've picked up 2 shades. I've picked up the shade Rosewood and the shade Merlot Kiss. These are lovely. So I think I said this in a past video. I feel like some of the brands who held back and didn't like go stampeding towards launching a liquid lipstick like right out of the gate, the brands that took their time, who really thought about formulation, who watched people's complaints about how liquid lipsticks were driving them crazy, kind of came out with some interesting formulas that I really think are different and have elevated liquid lipsticks to a new level. So this formula is amazing. The color is super pigmented. It's kind of moussey feeling as it goes on. You get absolutely no patchiness or no streakiness from the colors I've tried. They take about 45 to 60 seconds to set. These are mostly transfer proof. I would say maybe not 100%, but mostly. Like it is a matte liquid lipstick, but it is incredibly comfortable. It remains feeling very lightweight and airy and just really, I can't say hydrating, but I would say it's very neutral. Like I'm not getting the drying effect from this the way that I do with just about every other liquid lipstick that I try. It has a scent that I just can't place, and it's kind of driving me crazy. Yeah, I just can't place it. It's not something that I hate. It's not something that I notice once it's applied on my lips. To be honest, the only time I really notice the scent is when I'm shoving the wand super close to my nose. It doesn't leave any discernible taste on your lips either. So scent isn't something that I would really knock this product for messing up. This is just a liquid lipstick formula that I feel like if you hate liquid lipsticks, if you've had really rotten luck with them, this is one you might want to try because it really is different than so many liquid lipsticks out there. I would say the closest thing I could compare this to is probably the Bare Minerals Gen Nude liquid lipsticks. It's kind of in that vein. I would just say that this formula is even more saturated, easier to apply, and lasts a little bit longer than those Bare Minerals ones. And last but not least, they launched a huge range of lipsticks. They released both a cream and a matte formula. They released 12 shades in each. I've picked up a few shades in this line, 2 cream and 3 mattes, and I really have enjoyed this formula. This is definitely the closest formula I've ever used to the Bite Beauty Amuse Bouche lipsticks. It's that very creamy, a little bit thicker but easy to apply kind of lipstick that really has full opacity and like one swipe. It's an amazing formula. Both formulas feel creamy and lightly hydrating on your lips, but you definitely get a little bit more of that soft matte effect for the matte ones, and then a really nice cream with a little bit of a shine for the cream lipsticks. These retail for $8.99 on the Ulta and the Flower Beauty website. However, I will tell you, if you can find these at Walmart, these retail for $5.93 there. If you are interested in this formula or any of the colors that I'm showing you here today, that is the direction I would point you to if you can find them in your local store. Like I said, I've tried 5 shades. The lightest shade that I have is actually Naked Blush. This is one of the mattes. This is a very pinky undertoned matte, so I find it very flattering on my skin tone. I really love this one. This shade is actually a dupe for Bite Beauty's Meringue in their Amuse Bouche line. I will leave a link down below to my 10 dupes that I did for high-end luxury lipsticks. This is one that is in there, just a heads up. I also picked up the shade Pink Dusk. This is one of the creams. This is a little bit deeper and a little bit more rosy toned than Naked Blush, but really flattering, sort of that mid-toned nude on me. The shade Autumn Rose is absolutely lovely. It's a hair deeper than Pink Dusk and a little bit more browny, but has that rosy undertone to it still. Really flattering, really pretty. I love this shade. Next up is Berry More. Although they've listed it as a berry and named it obviously after Drew Barrymore, I would say this is more of that deeper mid-toned pink / rose color. I really enjoy this color. I think it's really pretty. And then the last one I tried is a cream, and this is Rouge Berry. This is the deepest one I've tried, and this is your traditional berry. You can see it gives a slight gloss to my lips when applying. Beautiful color. To be honest, I would like to try a few more of these, maybe a coral, maybe some of the lighter nudes, the peachy nudes or the spiced petal, or potentially some of the hot pinks and reds. If you had asked me last year who I thought did lipsticks best at the drugstore, I would have said Maybelline all day long. And don't get me wrong, I still think Maybelline lipsticks are fantastic. There are go-to shades from Maybelline that I absolutely can't be without, but I kind of feel like Flower Beauty just kicked Maybelline off that #1 spot in my opinion when it comes to lipstick formulas. These are incredible. This is just one of those formulas that I feel like everybody needs to try. Find a shade that appeals to you and pick one of the creams and one of the mattes up. I think you're going to be blown away by the quality and the intensity and the pigmentation and the lasting power. It's just, I can't say enough good things. Guys, so that wraps it up for today's video. We have covered everything that Flower Beauty and Milani have launched for spring and a whole slew of reviews to go with that. Let me know down in the comments below if any of these products caught your eye or if you have tried any of these, what your experiences were with them. We're going to continue to march our way through the remaining 21 brands. Up next, I think we're going to do CoverGirl and Neutrogena. We also have Revlon and Almay on deck, and then a Wet n Wild E.L.F combination coming up here shortly too. I hope you guys are having a great day. Look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.